Chosen one, you didn't find this video. This video found you. And if you're watching this on or around March 8th, I need you to stop whatever you're doing. Put down the coffee, turn off the noise in the next room, because what God is about to show you in the next few minutes, you have waited years to hear. Let me tell you something that nobody else is going to say to your face today. You are not in your 20 cent anymore. You don't have the luxury of another 10-year detour, another wasted season, another wrong person, another door you should have closed 5 years ago, still sitting wide open, draining everything God poured into you. Those days are over. The last few weeks felt like walking through fog, didn't they? Like something was there, a decision, a clarity, a breakthrough, but every time you reached for it, the light shifted. The answer moved. The peace you prayed for wouldn't land. That wasn't weakness. That wasn't your faith failing. That was a spiritual eclipse. Heaven was moving something over your life, deliberately, on purpose. Because God doesn't bring clarity until He's first removed what was blocking it. March 8th is when God starts moving the shadow. This is Clarity Day, beloved. Not next month. Not after you get yourself together. Not when the situation finally makes sense. Today. And I need you to understand, God is not being gentle about it this time. He is not whispering, He is pointing. With a holy, sovereign, unmistakable finger, directly at the thing in your life that cannot go with you into your next chapter. Before this message is over, I'm going to show you 3 things. First, one question that will expose exactly what must leave your life. Not what you think needs to go. What God says must go. Second, the 3 types of people God is quietly removing from your path right now. Not loudly, not dramatically, quietly. And one of them you still call a blessing. And third, the one decision you need to make before this day ends. One decision that has the power to redeem years of delay. Years, beloved, not months. Years. Stay with me. I promise you, every second of this is going to be worth it. If your spirit is stirring right now, if something in your chest just shifted, don't you dare click off. This may be the last time this season that heaven speaks this clearly to you. Right now, I want you to type something in the comments. Not for me. As your agreement with heaven, type, Lord, show me what must leave. That's your covenant. That's your yes. And God honors the yes of His people. And if this is already hitting somewhere deep, hit like, not for the algorithm. So this message finds another son, another daughter, sitting alone somewhere tonight, confused, tired, carrying weight that was never theirs to carry. They need this too. Let me ask you something nobody else is brave enough to ask you. When was the last time you went to bed at night and your soul felt still? Not just tired, not just exhausted from the day, but genuinely, deeply still. Because I know what's happening at 3 a.m. in your house. I know you're lying there, staring at that ceiling, and the quiet isn't peaceful. The quiet is loud, louder than anything you heard all day. And in that quiet, the questions come. The ones you don't say out loud. The ones you've been carrying so long they've started to feel like furniture. Did I make the right choices? Is it too late? Why does God feel so far away right now? Same chair, same show, same worry, different day. You wake up, you go through the motions, you do what needs to be done. But somewhere between the morning coffee and the evening news, you catch yourself just staring. Not at anything, through everything. Like your eyes are looking for something your mind can't name. You check your phone, waiting for a message that hasn't come, from a child who's grown distant, from a friend who used to call every Sunday, from God Himself, some sign, some word, some confirmation that you are not invisible, that all these years of faithful living meant something. And the silence answers back. You tell yourself you're fine, you've been through worse, you're strong. But beloved, there is a particular kind of pain that belongs only to this season of life. The pain of feeling too old to start over, but too miserable to stay the same, standing in the middle, too far from who you were, too uncertain of who you're becoming, and nobody around you seems to understand that this isn't depression, this isn't weakness, this is a spiritual eclipse. Now stay with me, because this is where everything shifts. When a solar eclipse happens, the sun doesn't die. The sun is still there, burning at 10,000 degrees, exactly as powerful as it's always been. But something gets in between, and for a moment, the world goes dark. Not because the light is gone, because the light is blocked. That is exactly what has happened to your life. Your joy didn't die. Something got in between. Your peace didn't leave. Something got in between. Your ability to hear God's voice, that deep, knowing, unmistakable voice that used to guide you so clearly it didn't disappear. Something got in between, and here's the truth that should shake you awake right now. You have been blaming yourself for the darkness, wondering what you did wrong, questioning your faith, questioning your worth, wondering if God moved on and forgot to tell you. But Psalm 139:7 asks the question that answers all of it. Where can I go from your spirit? Where can I flee from your presence? You cannot outrun God, and God has not outrun you. The darkness you've been living in is not divine abandonment, it is divine preparation. There is a difference. And March 8th is the day God pulls back the curtain and shows you exactly what has been standing between you and the life He promised you. Not to shame you, not to expose your failures, to free you. Because here is the AHA moment I need you to grab with both hands and never let go. Your confusion is not your identity, it is a symptom. Say that again in your spirit. Your confusion is not who you are. It is a signal, a spiritual X-ray showing you there is something inside the life you're living that does not belong there. Something that was never supposed to stay this long. Someone, a pattern, a fear, a version of yourself you've been protecting that God has been trying to retire for years. The fog is not your future. The fog is a diagnostic. And today, on this specific date, in this specific moment, with you watching this specific message, God is reading the results. Isaiah 43:19 doesn't say I did a new thing. It says I am doing a new thing. Present tense, active, right now, while you are sitting wherever you are sitting, while your heart is beating with all that quiet confusion inside it, God is already moving. The only question is, will you be willing to see what He's about to show you? In just a few minutes, I'm going to walk you through exactly how to recognize what's been blocking you. Step by step. Not in vague spiritual language. Real, specific, practical. The kind of clarity that makes you sit back and say, I knew it. I felt it for years. I just needed permission to believe it. But right now, before we go another step forward together, I want you to do something. Just this. No camera watching. No one listening. Just you and God in this moment. Whisper it. Right where you are. That's me, Lord. I'm listening. Because the moment you say yes to clarity is the moment the shadow starts to move. And what God is about to reveal to you has been worth every single night you spent staring at that ceiling. Every single one. God marks moments on the calendar. Let me ask you something that might shake you right down to your foundation. Do you believe, truly believe, that God marks days on His calendar? Not a superstition, not a horoscope, not some mystical coincidence. I mean the living God, the one who breathed stars into existence, the one who counted every hair on your head. Do you believe He shows up on specific days, in specific seasons, with specific instructions, and that when He does, everything changes? Because if you don't believe that, the Bible is going to have a hard time with you tonight. Open Genesis 12. There's an old man named Abram, 75 years old, settled, comfortable, roots deep in the ground of everything familiar. And out of nowhere, no warning, no preparation, no committee meeting, God speaks. Leave your country. Leave your people. Leave your father's household. 3 leaves, 1 sentence, 1 day, 1 divine appointment that rewrote the entire story of humanity. Abraham didn't get a map. He didn't get a 5-year plan. He didn't get a guarantee that it would work out. He got 1 word from God, go, and the obedience of a single step launched a bloodline that would one day carry the Messiah. Think about what he was leaving behind. Not just a house, his whole identity. His name meant something in that land. His relationships were there, his security, his comfort, his past, all of it tied to a place God was now calling behind. And here's what burns in my spirit. Abraham didn't spend 6 months debating it. He went. The sand was still under his feet when he took that first step. He didn't know where he was going, he only knew who was calling him forward. And that was enough. Now here's the question I need you to sit with. What is God calling you to leave right now that you're still standing in? Fast forward. Israel, the Red Sea in front of them, Pharaoh's army thundering behind, the people are screaming. Moses is outnumbered on every side by fear, doubt, and the weight of 2 million voices asking the same terrible question. Did God bring us out here to die? And God speaks again. Move forward, not backward, forward, into water, into the impossible, into what made absolutely no natural sense. Here's the brutal truth nobody tells you about that moment. Turning back to Egypt felt safer. It looked safer. It sounded reasonable. At least in Egypt they knew the rules. At least in Egypt there was food on the table, even if they were enslaved to get it. Beloved, let that land on you. There are people right now who are choosing Egypt over the Red Sea. Not because they don't love God, but because the chains have become familiar. The bondage has become comfortable. The thing that is slowly killing them has become the thing they call home. And God is standing at the water's edge tonight, pointing forward, saying, "This cannot go where I'm taking you. Now come to the shores of Galilee." A fisherman named Peter, nets dripping with water, hands rough, life predictable. He knows this lake, he knows these nets. He knows exactly who he is and what he does and where he stands in the world. Then a carpenter from Nazareth walks up and says 2 words, "Follow me." That net in Peter's hands, that wasn't just equipment. That was his whole past identity. That was his father's trade. That was his reputation. That was the answer to every question anyone ever asked about who he was. And he dropped it. Not someday. Not after 1 more season. Not after he figured out his retirement plan. He dropped it that day. On that specific, unrepeatable, God-ordained morning, Peter chose the word of Jesus over the weight of everything he had always known. And nothing was ever the same again. Here's what I need you to understand. God didn't hate that net. God wasn't insulting Peter's past. He was simply saying, "This can't go where I'm taking you. What got you here cannot take you there." Now I want to bring this straight to March 8th. I'm not telling you this date is magic. I'm not asking you to worship a calendar. I'm telling you that the same God who stopped Abraham in his tracks at 75 years old, the same God who split water for 2 million desperate people, the same God who stood on a lakeshore and called a fisherman into his real life, that God is marking a line in your story right now. And for many of you watching tonight, this is that line. Not because of what's happening in the sky, because of what God has been doing in you. The confusion of the last season, the weight you've been carrying, the thing you've been holding on to that God has been pulling away from your grip for months. Today is the day he makes it clear. The question is not whether God is speaking. The question is, will you drop the net? Because what he's about to show you next is the thing you've been most afraid to name. And the moment you name it is the moment your Red Sea starts to part. Now I need you to close your eyes for just a moment. Not forever. Just long enough to picture something. Imagine your heart, not the organ in your chest, but the place inside you where you keep everything that matters. your memories, your fears, your old wounds. Your private conversations with God at 2 inches the morning. Now imagine that place looks like an old attic. Dark, dusty, full of boxes stacked floor to ceiling. Some of them you packed yourself. Some of them were handed to you by people who had no right to put anything in your house. And some of those boxes, beloved, you haven't opened in 30 years. March 8th is the day God walks up those stairs with a flashlight. He's not there to condemn you. He's not angry. He's not disappointed. But he is pointing. And when God points at something in your life, it is not a suggestion. He looks at one box and says, "This one. This cannot go where I'm taking you." Do you want to know what's written on the label? The first box says, "I'm too old now." You've been carrying that lie so long it feels like wisdom. It feels like realism. It feels like the responsible thing to believe. But let me ask you something directly. Did God say that? Did Jesus say that? Did the Holy Spirit sit down beside you one morning and whisper, "Your time has passed"? No. That voice came from somewhere else. Moses was 80 years old when God handed him his greatest assignment. 80. The world had written him off. He'd written himself off. But Exodus 4:12 records God saying, "I will be with your mouth and teach you what to say." Age was never the issue. Availability was. You are still here. That means the assignment is still active. The second box says, "I always ruin everything." Oh, this one is heavy. This one has been packed so tight for so many years that you don't even notice the weight anymore. You think it's just you. You've mistaken a lie for a personality trait. Think about every time something went wrong in your life and your first instinct was "my fault." Of course, it always is. That is not humility. That is a prison. And the enemy built that prison one painful memory at a time, brick by brick, year by year, until you stopped even trying to escape. Romans 8:1 says, "There is no condemnation for those who are in Christ Jesus." None. Zero. Not some. Not a little. None. God never wrote "ruined" over your life. Someone else did. And March 8th is the day you stop believing them. The third box says, "If I let go, I'll be alone." This one keeps more people spiritually stuck than almost anything else. Because it sounds reasonable. It sounds like love. But it is fear dressed in a trench coat, standing at the door of your destiny, blocking everything God wants to bring in. You have stayed in rooms you outgrew, carried relationships that drained you hollow, kept toxic connections alive on life support, because the terror of emptiness felt worse than the pain of staying. But hear me clearly, what God removes, He always replaces. Always. He has never once cleared a space in a chosen one's life and left it vacant. John 15:2 says, "He prunes every branch that bears fruit, so that it will bear more fruit." The pruning is not punishment. It is preparation. The loneliness you fear on the other side of release is not abandonment. It is sacred space God is making for something you cannot yet see. Now I need to get very personal with you, because there are things in that attic that aren't about people. They're about you. The shame you carry over your aging body, the way you avoid mirrors, apologize for your limitations, hide the parts of yourself that remind you of everything you think you've lost. The secret jealousy that stirs when you see someone your age who seems to have it easier, the one whose family calls, whose health held, whose finances didn't fall apart. You think God doesn't see that? He sees it. And He is not shaming you for it. He is freeing you from it. Let me ask you something quietly, and I need you to sit with this before you answer. What is the sentence you repeat in your head? The one that plays on a loop when things go wrong, that God never once said about you. You know exactly what it is. You've been hearing it so long it sounds like your own voice. That sentence, that story, that is what must leave on March 8th. Not just the people, not just the situations, but the narrative. The internal agreement you made maybe at 6 years old, maybe at 45, that became the lens through which you see every single thing God has ever tried to do in your life. In a few minutes, I'm going to give you one question, one single question that will expose that sentence and everything attached to it. Every root, every branch, every piece of ground it's been poisoning. Stay with me, because what comes next is where God stops pointing at the boxes and starts showing you the door. Now I need to talk to you about something that most preachers are afraid to say out loud, because it's not just what's inside you that needs to go. It's who's around you. It's where you keep going. It's what you keep doing on autopilot that is slowly, quietly pulling you backward every single time. And God, right here on March 8th, is turning the light on. Let me give you 3 types of people, and I want you to listen carefully, because one of them is probably sitting at your dinner table right now. The first group, the drainers. You know exactly who I'm talking about. Every single time you get off the phone with this person, you are exhausted, not just tired, hollowed out, like something was taken from you that you didn't agree to give. You hang up and you need an hour just to find yourself again. David wrote in Psalm 55:12, "If an enemy were insulting me, I could endure it. But it is you, a man like myself, my companion, my close friend." Beloved, sometimes the heaviest weight in your life doesn't have a stranger's face. It has a familiar one. The second group, the distractors. These people don't drain you. They entertain you. They keep you laughing, keep you busy, keep you comfortable, and completely stalled. You've known them for years, and in all those years, they have never once pointed you closer to God. Never once challenged you to be better. Never once asked you, "How's your spirit doing?" They keep you busy, but never better. Proverbs 13:20 says it plainly, "Walk with the wise and become wise. Associate with fools and get in trouble." Not maybe, not sometimes, get in trouble. The third group, the deceivers. This is the one that stings, because these people say all the right things. They know the scriptures. They pray at the table. They call themselves your friend, your family, your covering. But watch their fruit. Not their words, their fruit. Their home is in chaos. Their relationships are in ruins. Their life is a cycle of drama that never ends, and somehow you always end up in the middle of it. Jesus said it in Matthew 7:16, "By their fruit you will recognize them, not by their words, not by their title, by their fruit." Now hear me, and hear me clearly. I am not telling you to slam doors. I am not telling you to send a text message tonight cutting off everyone who came to mind. That is not wisdom, that is reaction. And God does not move through reaction, He moves through discernment. What I am telling you is this: learn to recognize fruit, because if the tree in your life keeps producing poison, you don't need to burn it down tonight. You just need to stop eating from it. Now let's talk about the places and the patterns. There are places you go not because they help you, but because they numb you. You know the ones. You walk in empty and you walk out emptier, but you keep going back because empty and familiar feels safer than full and unknown. And then there are the rabbit holes, the ones on your phone, the outrage channels, the conspiracy threads, the toxic spiritual content that always leaves you more afraid, more confused, more suspicious of God's goodness than when you started. You call it staying informed, but your spirit comes out of it wounded every single time. And then there are the old routines, the ones that signal to every cell in your body we are going back to who we used to be. The late night habits, the old frequencies, the small rituals that seem innocent but are really just you, giving the old version of yourself a key back into the house. Isaiah 43:18 says, "Forget the former things, do not dwell on the past." God doesn't say remember the past and manage it. He says forget it, because He is doing something new. But before you do anything, I need to say this with everything in me. Do not quit your marriage off a YouTube video. Do not stop your medication off a YouTube video. Do not make a permanent, life-altering decision tonight based on emotion alone, no matter how real it feels right now. What you do is this: you invite God into the decision. You seek wise counsel. You pray before you move. Because God-directed boundaries protect people. Emotion-directed cutoffs damage people. There is a difference between a door God closes and a door you slam in panic. Right now, before this message moves forward, I want you to do one thing. Get a piece of paper, not your phone, a real piece of paper. Write down one name, one place, one pattern, the ones that came to your mind while I was speaking. Don't put it in the comments. This is not for the world to see. This is between you and God. Hold that paper and say, Lord, show me what to do with this. That's not a goodbye. That's a surrender. And surrender is always where God starts his best work. Because what needs to leave around you is now clear. But what needs to leave inside you, that's the door we're about to open next. From the very beginning of this message, I told you there was one question coming. One question that would do what years of prayer, years of journaling, years of waiting couldn't fully do: expose what cannot stay in your life after this season. We have been building to this moment together, and it's here. I need you to stay with me. Don't move. Don't look at your phone. Because what I'm about to put in your hands is not a motivational quote. It is a surgical instrument, and God wants to use it on you today. Beloved, we spend so much of our lives holding on to things that stopped serving us years ago. Relationships that drain us but feel too familiar to release. Habits we've carried since our 40s that we call just the way I am. Thought patterns so deeply wired into our minds that we actually mistake them for our personality. Environments that shrink us, but because everyone around us lives the same way, we've stopped questioning whether it's right. And we call this life, but God calls it a prison with an open door. Hebrews 12:1 says, "Let us throw off everything that hinders and the sin that so easily entangles." Everything that hinders, not just sin, not just the obvious, everything. That word in the Greek, ogkos, means dead weight, excess baggage. The thing that isn't necessarily evil, but it's heavy. And it's slowing you down from the race God marked out specifically for you. Here is what nobody is brave enough to tell you. Some of the weight you are carrying right now is not a burden God gave you. It's a burden you chose, and you have been choosing it, quietly, every single morning, for years. The friendship that always leaves you feeling less than you kept it. The thought that says you're too old, too far gone, too broken, you fed it. The habit that numbs the pain but never heals it, you protected it. And every single day you held on to it. You moved one step further from the version of yourself God showed you when he first called your name. So here is the question. Write it down if you have to, but more importantly, feel it. If I stay connected to this person, this habit, or this thought for the next 12 months, will I become more like the version of me God showed me, or the version of me I swore I'd never be again? That's it. That is the whole question. And I want you to sit in it right now. Don't rush past it. Let it do its work. Think about the relationship that first came to your mind when I said that. You know the one. The name that surfaced immediately before you could stop it. Ask the question, honestly. Not the answer you want. The answer your spirit already knows. Think about the habit. The one you've defended to everyone, including God. Ask it. Think about that voice inside your head, the one that sounds like wisdom but produces fear, the one that sounds like discernment but produces paralysis. Ask the question, and pay attention to what happens in your body. Pay attention to the knot in your stomach. Pay attention to the peace that is absent. Because Colossians 3:15 says, "Let the peace of God rule in your hearts." The word rule there means umpire. God's peace is the umpire of your decisions. And when that peace goes quiet, that is your answer. You already know what needs to go. You have known for a long time. The only question was whether you'd finally have the courage to be honest about it. This is that moment. Pause this video right now if you have to. Don't just listen to this message, use it. Take the question, walk it through every major relationship in your life. Walk it through every habit, every environment, every narrative you've been running in your mind about who you are and what you deserve. And when you come back changed. Go to the comments right now and type, "I choose the version God showed me." Not because it's easy, because it's true. Because you are making a declaration in front of heaven that you are choosing your destiny over your comfort. And if you know someone, a friend, a family member, someone you love who is clearly still connected to something they should have walked away from years ago, send them this video today, not tomorrow. Today, you may be the last voice God uses to reach them before the window closes. Because here's what I need you to understand before we go deeper. Letting go is not the end of your story. It is the first sentence of your next chapter. And what God has written for that chapter has been waiting longer than you know. Let me ask you something, and I need you to answer this honestly, not for me, but for yourself. When you picture letting that thing go, that situation, that person, that habit you've been dragging around for years, what happens inside your chest? Is there a stab of fear? Good. That's normal. That's human. But underneath that fear, underneath all the noise and the what-ifs and the "but I've invested so much," is there something else? Something quieter, something older, a deep, settled rightness that says, "I know I can't keep doing this." That rightness is not your anxiety talking. That is God whispering. Here's what most people get confused. They think conviction feels like peace. It doesn't, not at first. Conviction feels like a hand on your shoulder you can't shake off. Fear says, "What if I lose everything?" But conviction says something different. Conviction says, "I already know. I just haven't acted yet." There is a difference between being afraid of the unknown and knowing deep in your bones that you cannot continue. One is emotion, the other is revelation. And beloved, on March 8th, God is not giving you emotions, He is giving you revelation. Now let me give you the first test, and I want you to apply this right now while you're listening. It's called the peace test. Close your eyes for just a moment right where you are and picture the thing God has been nudging you about. The relationship, the habit, the situation you keep excusing. Picture walking away from it, completely, finally. Does something in you exhale? That exhale, that quiet release, somewhere behind your ribs, that is the Holy Spirit confirming what your mouth has been afraid to say out loud. Philippians 4:7 says it plainly. The peace of God surpasses all understanding. It doesn't always make logical sense. You might not be able to explain it to your children or your friends, but it is there, unmistakable. Underneath all the fear, the peace is there. And if the peace is there, that is God's fingerprint on the decision. Now here's the second test, and this one is going to sting a little. Look at the last 6 months, not the last 6 days. Not the last 6 weeks when things were getting better, the last 6 months of honest, unedited truth. Has this thing produced more peace or more panic? How many times have you said this is the last time and ended up in the exact same place, having the exact same conversation, feeling the exact same exhaustion? Jesus said it in Matthew 7:16, "By their fruits you will know them," not by their potential, not by what they promised, not by what they used to be, by their fruit. And if the consistent fruit of this thing in your life has been confusion, depletion, anxiety, shame, distance from God, that is not a rough season. That is a pattern, and patterns don't lie. The enemy will tell you that one more chance will be different, that this time the fruit will change. But beloved, a tree that has produced poison for 6 months does not suddenly grow medicine in the 7th, not without being fundamentally uprooted and replanted by God Himself. Is that what's happened? Has God transformed this thing? Or are you still waiting for a change that the fruit keeps telling you is not coming? Now here is the third test, and this is the one that should stop you completely. Think about the last 2 weeks. Has a specific verse kept finding you not because you searched for it, but because it kept showing up? Has someone said something to you, a friend, a stranger, even a cashier at the store who had no idea what you were going through, but their words hit the exact nerve God has been pressing? Has a sermon, a song, a video like this one landed on the same wound more than once? That is not coincidence. Romans 8:14 says, "Those who are led by the Spirit of God are the children of God." God leads through repetition. He is not a God of one whisper. When He is trying to get your attention, He sends the same message through different mouths, different moments, different mornings, until you can no longer call it random. If this message today is confirming what you have already been hearing in prayer, in your gut, in the quiet moments before you fall asleep, do not brush it off. Do not intellectualize it away. Do not wait for a 4th, 5th, 6th confirmation. You have enough. Look at the track record. Look at the fruit. Look at your peace. All three are telling you the same thing. And the God who created you, who numbered every hair on your head, who saw your entire life before you lived a single day of it, He does not confirm something this many times without a reason. The question is no longer, is God speaking? The question is, are you finally ready to obey? Because what happens next in your life depends entirely on how you answer that. I want you to close your eyes for a moment, not forever. Just long enough to see something. I'm going to show you 2 versions of your future, and one of them is going to hurt. But you need to see it, because the truth you avoid today becomes the prison you live in tomorrow. 5 years from now, same recliner, same 4 walls, same argument you've had 100 times that never gets resolved, same person draining the peace out of every room they walk into, same bitterness you've been swallowing so long you've forgotten it has a name. Your body is older, your circle is smaller, the grandchildren visit less, the phone rings less, and late at night, when everything goes quiet, there's that feeling again, that hollow ache in the middle of your chest that no television program, no scroll through the phone, no Sunday sermon can quite reach. You stayed, you kept it all, you held on, and it cost you everything that mattered. Proverbs 14:12 says it plainly, "There is a way that appears to be right, but in the end it leads to death." Not physical death, the slow death, the death of your joy, the death of your calling, the death of the version of you that God designed before the world ever got its hands on you. Now, keep your eyes closed just a little longer. 5 years from now, but this time, you said yes on March 8th. You let go of what God showed you. It wasn't easy. There were nights it felt like losing. There were mornings you questioned everything, but you obeyed. And now, you're lighter, not rich lighter, not without struggle but lighter. The people around you are fewer, yes, but every single one of them is safe. You sleep through the night. You wake up without dread. You laugh without it feeling borrowed. You pray without that ceiling feeling like concrete. You found a purpose you didn't know was waiting behind the door you were too afraid to close. That's not a fantasy. That's a promise. Isaiah 43:19. I am doing a new thing. Do you not perceive it? God was always going to do something new. He just needed you to make room. Let me tell you about Barbara, 68 years old, Queens, New York, retired school teacher. 40 years of giving everything to everyone, her students, her church, her family. And for the last 11 years, a relationship that slowly, quietly, methodically dismantled her. He wasn't violent. He was something worse. He was dismissive. Every dream she mentioned, he minimized. Every step forward she took, he found a reason to pull her back. And Barbara stayed because she was terrified of one word: alone. She told herself God wanted her to be patient. She told herself things would change. She told herself at 68, "You don't get to start over." That's the lie the enemy wraps in wisdom. One Sunday morning, something shifted. The pastor read Luke 13, the woman bent over for 18 years, unable to straighten up. And Jesus didn't ask her how long she'd been suffering. He didn't ask her if she'd tried hard enough. He simply said, "Woman, you are set free." Barbara drove home, sat in her car in the driveway for 45 minutes, and wept. Then she made the call. She set the boundary. She got the help. She rejoined her church's women's ministry. And at 71, 3 years after the moment everyone told her was too late, Barbara started a prayer group for women over 60 who felt invisible. Last count? 83 women, every Tuesday morning, in a church basement in Queens. She wasn't punished for letting go. She was protected. Her later years didn't just survive the letting go, they became the most fruitful years of her entire life. Hear me clearly, beloved. God is not asking you to let go to punish you. He is asking you to let go to get you back. The thing He's removing is not your blessing. It is the weight that has been standing between you and your blessing, between you and your rest, between you and the last great chapter He wrote for your life before you took your first breath. You have been holding on so long, you've started to believe the weight is just part of you. It is not part of you. It was never part of you. And March 8th is the day heaven draws the line. So right now, not tomorrow, not after the video, right now, I need you to whisper something out loud. Say it where you are. In the car, in the kitchen, in that recliner. I would rather be uncomfortable with God in transition than comfortable in what is slowly killing me. Say it again if you have to. Let your own ears hear it. Because the moment those words leave your lips, something shifts in the atmosphere over your life. And what comes next? What God is about to activate on the other side of your letting go? That's exactly where we're going. Chosen ones. On March 8, everything becomes clear. If you've made it this far, you didn't stay because of me. You stayed because something inside you recognized this moment. Something ancient. Something God planted in you long before today ever came. And right now, I want you to do something that might feel small, but in heaven's record, it will be one of the most significant things you've done in years. If you're in your living room, lay your hand over your heart. If you're in bed, turn your palm upward, open, empty, ready. That posture matters. Because what you're saying with your body right now is what your mouth is about to confirm. I am done holding on to what God already told me to release. I need to say something directly to you before we pray. You are not too old for a fresh yes. Don't let the enemy use your age against you. Don't let him whisper that the window has closed, that you've had your chances, that God's patience with your story has run thin. Psalm 92:14 says the righteous will still bear fruit in old age. Still, that word still is not poetic decoration. That is a divine promise aimed directly at the person who thought their season was over. Your season is not over, but there are things, and you know exactly what they are, that cannot enter your next season with you. The habit you've justified for a decade. The relationship that drains you every single time but you keep answering the phone. The bitterness you dressed up as boundaries. The fear you renamed as wisdom. God sees it all. And He's not angry. He's waiting. So right now, wherever you are, close your eyes if you can, and let's lay it on the altar together. Repeat after me from the deepest place inside you. Lord, today I stand at my March 8. I don't have all the answers, but I know you do. Show me clearly, with no confusion, no delay, what cannot go with me into my next chapter. I surrender every habit that has had more power over me than your voice. I surrender every relationship I've held on to out of fear of being alone. I surrender every thought that told me I was too broken, too late, too far gone. Heal the lonely places inside me, the places that made me cling to what was hurting me just because it was familiar. Give me the courage to obey you even when I'm scared. even when I can't see the next step, even when letting go feels like losing. Lord, I give you my yes, a real yes, today. Now keep your eyes closed just a moment longer, because I need to speak something over you, not as motivation, not as a preacher trying to make you feel good before you close this app and go back to the same life, as a prophetic declaration by the authority of the Word of God, spoken over a chosen one who finally said yes on the right day. I declare over you, this is not the end of your story. This is the beginning of your clarity. The fog that has followed you for months, it is breaking right now. The confusion that made you question everything, your calling, your worth, your future, that confusion does not have legal authority over your life anymore. You gave God your yes, and heaven just moved. You will not die in confusion. You will not cross your finish line, still dragging what God gave you permission to put down years ago. That is not your ending. That is not the story written over your name in eternity. Scales are coming off your eyes, right now. Patterns you couldn't see before are becoming visible. People who were sent to delay you, you will recognize them. Doors that looked like opportunity but led nowhere, you will discern them. Isaiah 42:16 says, God will lead the blind by ways they have not known, along unfamiliar paths. He will guide them. He will turn darkness into light before them and make rough places smooth. That is your word for March 8. Unfamiliar paths, new light, rough places made smooth. Not because you finally got it together, because you finally surrendered. If you prayed that prayer with me today, don't let it stay between you and this screen. Write in the comments right now, I release what God never meant me to carry. That is your public altar. That is you planting a stake in the ground and telling heaven, telling yourself, telling every force that's tried to keep you stuck, not anymore. And if you know someone, one person who has been carrying something too heavy for too long, who is confused and exhausted and doesn't know which way is forward, send them this video tonight. You may not know what they're going through, but God does, and He knows exactly why you thought of them just now. Your obedience in this moment could be the turning point of their entire year. This clarity that came to you today, it wasn't only for you. It was always meant to move through you. You made it through. And I don't mean you made it through this video. I mean you made it through the fog, through the confusion, through the season that tried to convince you that clarity was never coming, that you were too old, too tired, too far behind for God to still be moving on your behalf. You made it through the eclipse, and now you're standing at the other side of it, and the light is different. You are different. So let me tell you what to do with that. Tonight, not next week, not when you feel ready tonight. Before you close your eyes, pick up a pen. Not your phone, a real pen and a real piece of paper. And write down 3 things. 3 things God revealed to you in this message. 3 things that must leave. A relationship that's been draining you dry. A habit you've been dressing up as comfort. A fear you've been calling wisdom. Write them down. Name them. Because what you name, you can release. And what you refuse to name will continue to quietly steal from you. That's step 1. Step 2. Before you make any major decision in the next 72 hours, before you have that confrontation, before you walk away from something, before you sign anything or cut anyone off, talk to someone. A pastor you trust. A counselor. A doctor, if your body has been carrying what your spirit was too afraid to say. Don't act from adrenaline, act from alignment. And step 3, choose one thing, just one thing, one action in the next 72 hours that proves to heaven you are serious. Set the boundary you've been postponing for 3 years. Delete the number. Turn off the account that has been feeding your anxiety every single morning. Maybe you throw something out, something physical, something symbolic that reminds you of what you are done carrying. One act of obedience opens more doors than 100 prayers said from a seat of comfort. Now let me say something that may surprise you. March 8 is not your Savior. Jesus is. This date is not magic. It is not a cosmic force you have to catch before it disappears. It is a doorway, and doorways only matter if you decide to walk through them. If you are watching this message after March 8th, whether it's March 15th or April or 6 months from now, hear me clearly. The moment God brings you clarity is always your day. Isaiah 60:1 doesn't say, "Arise and shine, for your light has come," but only if it's the right date on the calendar. It simply says, "Arise, shine, your light has come." Your light has come. Right now, wherever you are, whatever season you're in, the eclipse doesn't determine your destiny. Your yes to God does. And if you've been watching this channel, and you're somewhere in your 60s, your 70s, your 80s, and the world has made you feel invisible, irrelevant, past your prime, I need you to hear this next sentence like it was spoken over you by name. This channel exists for you, not for the young and loud, not for the ones who have it all figured out. For you, the ones who have buried spouses and raised ungrateful children and prayed through decades that felt silent. For the ones who still get up every morning and choose faith when they have every reason not to. You are not forgotten here. You are not a footnote. You are the whole story. Subscribe, turn on notifications, and the next time you feel the old pull, the temptation to pick back up what God told you to put down, come back to this video. Let it be a stone of remembrance. Let it remind you of the day the eclipse ended and you chose to walk forward. And now, before I let you go, I want to leave something over your life. May the Lord bless you with courage for the conversation you've been avoiding, with clarity for the decision you've been circling, and with the grace to say clean goodbyes to what God has already released from your hands. May you stop apologizing for outgrowing what was always too small for you. May every empty space left behind by what you let go become a room God fills with something you haven't had the imagination to ask for yet. In the next message, we are going to talk about exactly that, what God adds after you let go. The relationships that walk in, the assignments that finally fit, the peace that moves into the rooms where anxiety used to live. You don't want to miss it, but for right now, close your eyes for just one moment. The shadow has passed. The light is on your face. Walk in it, chosen one. The eclipse is over.